this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
With no fees or minimums on checking accounts, it's no wonder that Capital One Bank Guy is so passionate about banking with Capital One. If he were here, he wouldn't just tell you about no fees or minimums. He'd also tell you about how Capital One cafes are open 7 days a week to assist with your banking needs. Yep, even on weekends. It's pretty much all he talks about, in a good way. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bankguy. Capital One N.A., member FDIC. Hey, and welcome to The Short Stuff. I'm Josh. There's Chuck. Jerry's even here. She's sitting in for Dave C., the super producer. And this is Short Stuff. A good one, too, if you ask me.
Yeah, so I know that A Christmas Story is one of your favorite movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that great scene at the end that is unfortunately now dripping with ethnic overtones and racism.
Sure.
But it's still a funny scene of the family going out to eat Chinese food on Christmas. Yeah. In an empty Chinese restaurant. The only problem I have with that, well, aside from the other stuff I just mentioned, is that it's not full of Jewish patrons.
Yeah, it's pretty much empty, if I remember correctly, isn't it?
They're the only ones there.
It is entirely possible that I think that takes place in Cleveland, outside of Cleveland, doesn't it? Or is it Indiana?
I think it was shot outside of Cleveland, but maybe set in Indiana.
Okay. There was probably not a Jewish person to be found in Indiana in the 1930s.
Maybe so.
That's probably it. And my God, did you know Bob Clark died in a car accident brought on by a DUI driver in 2007?
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea until just recently. So
I think his son too, right?
Yeah, his oldest son.
Very sad.
R.I.P. Bob Clark and son. But yes, so there is something weird in that there's no Jewish people in there because at any Chinese food restaurant on Christmas in America, especially these days, you're going to find plenty of Jewish people eating there. In fact, it's a huge tradition among the Jewish American community, it turns out.
Yeah, and you brought up this very kind of funny moment at the Supreme Court confirmation hearings for Justice Elena Kagan. Someone said, "Where were you during the Christmas attack launched by Al-Qaeda the year before?" And she said, "Like all Jews, I was probably at a Chinese restaurant."
Yeah.
What a great line.
And apparently Chuck Schumer was like, well, the reason being is because it's probably the only place open. So he just kind of ruined the whole thing. Yeah, he did. He explained it. But he probably didn't need to explain because from, just researching this, but also my own awareness, like eating Chinese food on Christmas is not just a Jewish tradition any longer. It's become an American tradition, but it definitely traces its origins back to the Jewish community. And apparently right around the turn of the last century in the Lower East Side of New York City is where it really finds its roots. Which is pretty cool that you can trace something like that back like that.
Oh, totally. It makes sense because if you're talking about different types of food, like Mexican food or Italian food, there's like dairy mixed in with the meat in a lot or most of the dishes, so it's hard to eat kosher. Chinese food, first of all, doesn't have dairy. My famous story about does it have cheese on it in the Chinese restaurant.
Right.
Still one of the great things that ever happened to me as a child was overhearing that conversation. But they don't have dairy in their food generally. And the stuff is just, you've got your meat and you've got rice and you've got things that are cooked together, but it's like vegetables and meats cooked together. It doesn't have like cream sauce or cheese and stuff like that.
Right. Which to a Jewish person is basically tantamount to being kosher. And, today it's really easy to be kosher in America because the food industry back in, I think, the 50s said, oh, there's a lot of Jewish people who live here now. There's like a whole market for making kosher foods or just labeling foods as kosher that were already kosher anyway. But before that, Chinese restaurants were one of the only places out in the rest of America where a Jewish person could go and feel pretty confident about having a kosher meal. So, that in and of itself makes sense. And there's also some other there's some commonalities too, especially between Eastern European Jewish people and Chinese cuisine, and that there's a lot of sweet and sour dishes common to both. Kreplach, which is like a meat-filled dumpling, is kind of resembles some of the Chinese meat-filled dumplings, like dim sum. And then also the pancakes, Chinese pancakes resemble blintzes too. So it's not like it was just the most entirely foreign concept to a lot of these Jewish Americans who were recently arrived. But it was still exotic and new too.
Yeah, so we'll take a break now, and then as promised, I know I led us astray, but we will head down to the Lower East Side right after this.
The springtime thaw is finally here. Flowers are blooming, days are longer. We're saying yes to more plans and finally getting outside, running, walking, just moving again. It's the perfect time to upgrade your everyday go-tos with Bombas. Take Bombas Sport Socks. They're super comfortable and designed with sport-specific tech for running, cycling, yoga, hiking, you name it. I use them to run in, and I can tell you they work beautifully. So head over to Bombas.com and use code SYSK for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com, code SYSK at checkout.
Hey everybody, here's a fact for you. In the United States, there is a break-in every 26 seconds, and that means that somewhere right now, an intruder is getting closer. And the problem with most security systems is that they only alert you after the break-in has started, and that's too late.
Well, that's what makes SimpliSafe different. They use alerts. SimpliSafe's U.S.-based live agents, they identify threats on your property and help deter them before they actually break in. So the intruder never gets into your house. The crime is stopped before it even starts.
That's right. And another great thing about SimpliSafe is they have no long-term contracts. They give you peace of mind and great value with their monitoring deterrence plans because they just start at about $1 a day.
Yeah, SimpliSafe sent us a setup years back, and I still use mine every day.
Yeah, and apparently setup, you can do it by yourself in under 30 minutes, so it's a really good value and it doesn't take long.
So if you want to experience the SimpliSafe peace of mind, you can take advantage of the SimpliSafe discount offered to Stuff You Should Know listeners. Right now, you can get 50% off your new system by visiting simplisafe.com/stuff. That's half off at simplisafe.com/stuff. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
All right, so you promised talk of the Lower East Side where this was kind of born. Mm-hmm. So there's a woman named, and this is not a joke, her name is Jennifer 8 Lee, the number 8. I guess she's named after the movie?
I don't know. I didn't get that far. I just verified that right? Wasn't a typo. Yeah, Jennifer 8 with Andy Garcia and I can't remember who else. And John Goodman. I can't remember
who was Jennifer 8. Was it Uma Thurman?
Oh, maybe. Well, you talk and I'll look up. How about that?
All right. So Jennifer 8 Lee is a producer of The Search for General Tso. It's General Tso, right?
Yep. It's General 8.
And she had this to say: Jews and Chinese were the two largest non-Christian immigrant groups at the turn of the century. And so these groups were linked by living in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and they were also linked by otherness. And for Jewish people to love Chinese food, she feels just says a lot about immigration history in the United States and being an outsider in the United States, kind of living together, which is really kind of a nice thing, I think.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good point. And I'm sure it's an accurate point, too, but it's something that's kind of easy to overlook. A lot of people just kind of, I think, narrow it down to, oh, well, that was what was open on Christian and Christian holidays and Sundays, which is true. Like that's a Chinese restaurant's going to be open on Christmas. So if you're a Jewish person looking to go out to eat, the Italian place is going to be closed because they're celebrating Christmas. The Irish pub's probably going to be closed because they're celebrating Christmas. So the Chinese food happened to be open, but it's definitely there's a lot further deeper layers to it than that.
Yeah, another one is that Chinese people had no history of being prejudiced toward Jewish people, which was a big deal. They were open on Sundays. They were open on other Christian holidays. I think there could have possibly been a reputation at some Italian restaurants early in the days of New York that they were maybe not as welcoming for Jewish people. Is that a nice way to say it?
At the very least, if you were Jewish and you went to an Italian restaurant, you might take note of the extensive religious, the imagery of the Virgin Mary and Jesus with the crown of thorns and all that, and be like, I'm going to the Chinese food place instead.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily hostile.
Right. But it wasn't like, come in, Jewish friends, necessarily. Who knows? But they didn't have to think about it at the Chinese restaurant. And then what's more, too, it wasn't just the Jewish community that was welcomed with open arms to Chinese restaurants during this time. If you were Black, too, you could find a place to eat at a Chinese restaurant. They didn't discriminate against anybody. They were like, you got some money and you want to eat? Come on in.
Yeah, it's very nice and welcoming. In the 30s, by the time the 1930s rolled around, Jewish cookbooks, like full on, had Americanized versions of famous Chinese dishes like egg foo young and chop suey. And the Lower East Side sort of started expanding. Jewish people moved to different boroughs, different neighborhoods, out into the suburbs. And bada bing, bada boom, all of a sudden, Chinese restaurants were following because they know they've got a good customer base.
Yeah, dude. So I saw that there's something like 40,000 Chinese food restaurants in the United States these days. There's 14,000 McDonald's. So 40,000 Chinese food restaurants. And it was this diaspora of the Jewish community from the Lower East Side of New York further and further out into America that kind of drew Chinese food restaurants out with them. So you can thank the Jews from New York for your local Chinese food place that you love so much. Give them a tip of the hat and say, thank you, Jewish friend. I appreciate you bringing the Chinese food restaurant this way.
That is really cool. I know they became sort of neighborhood hubs in Jewish communities, and they would see friends and neighbors, and the families were there, and children were playing together. It was just a sort of a beautiful symbiotic relationship, it seems like, from the beginning.
Yeah. And so over time, the rest of America said, hey, the Jewish people are really onto something here. Let's get in on this. And nowadays, like eating Chinese food on Christmas is just a general American tradition. And you can see that apparently in Google searches for Chinese food, which I guess skyrocket on Christmas or right around Christmas, right?
Yeah, I think they go up, or actually that's a Grubhub stat is Chinese food is up 152% on Christmas Day, but it definitely, the Google search peaks on Christmas Day, and that's been going on since they've been keeping track of Google stats.
Yep. And so apparently the most popular Chinese food order in all of America on any day, but in particular Christmas Day, is that General Tso's.
Have you ever had Chinese food on Christmas?
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, I didn't realize how cliche we were. Yumi and I would go get General Tso's chicken at Golden Buddha on 10th Street.
Okay.
On 10th in Midtown, not the one in Decatur.
Gotcha.
And we just drove past it the other day, and it's gone, which is kind of sad. So there goes our Christmas tradition. But for a few years, we would go eat Chinese food on Christmas. It's good.
I love Chinese food so much.
Yeah, I do too. As a matter of fact, researching this the other day, we ended up getting Thai. It wasn't Chinese, but, close enough. But I was like, we've got to get some Chinese food just from reading about all this and seeing words like egg foo young and chop suey and stuff. It made me so hungry for it.
I never had that stuff. I don't even know what chop suey is.
So that, I think, is a short stuff in and of itself. But supposedly they think it's chop suey basically means leftovers. So it has its own origin story. We'll do one on chop suey too, okay?
Sweet.
Sweet indeed. So if you want to know more about Chinese food on Christmas, well then, buddy, you got a day to figure it out and then try it for yourself tomorrow, because the Jewish community figured it out a long time ago. And since I said that, it means that Short Stuff is out.
Stuff You Should Know is a production of iHeartRadio's How Stuff Works. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.